Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first session in our series of online learning tools. Tonight is our treasurer's turn, and I have a slew of people to introduce, but I would like first to start with our protocols, just so that everyone is in. I know we haven't done Zoom so much recently, so let's get used to our protocols again. In the bottom of your screen, you should have that globe, which is your interpretation module. Please choose the appropriate language. We will unmute you if you raise your hand. Until otherwise, we will not be able to unmute you. Please put all questions in the chat box, and so that we can get them easily. Use your raise hand emoji so that we know that you want to speak. Please know that these sessions will be recorded and will be posted on our website and our YouTube channel. Thank you so much, and I am about to start with the asking our district governor-elect, Debbie, who we don't need anymore to be introduced. We're going to ask her to say a few words as we start off this session. DGE Debbie, welcome.
Thank you very much, District Learning Facilitator PDG Sonia. Good evening to everyone on the call. It is great to see the turnout of 109 plus Rotarians online this afternoon. This evening's session is primarily geared towards the treasurers, but of course, the finances of a club is not the sole responsibility of the treasurers. Your president needs to know about it, your secretary needs to know about it, and generally all Rotarians should be aware as to how your club finances are to be managed. I know that we have the District Finance Chair Lyle and our treasurer who would go more into detail this afternoon. And I just want to say that we must always remember in our financial dealings that we have a reputation to maintain in terms of Rotary International, and we conduct ourselves and hold ourselves accountable to the highest standard. So that's just me at the outset. I know that we have an enjoyable session lined up ahead of us, and I'm looking forward to seeing some interesting questions at the end of the session. Thank you very much. Back to you, PDG Sonia.
Thank you, DGE. And while I have the floor, before we go into anything else, can we turn on some cameras? It's really hard talking to a lot of names. I really would love to see all our District 7030 people. Oh my gosh, this is looking even better. And if you go into the chat, you all will find the pets background that you can actually do. So we have a sea of red for the pictures later on in the session. Okay, that's lovely. Thank you so much for turning those cameras on. Before I introduce our next speaker, I want to encourage everyone tonight to take these sessions seriously. Presidents, secretaries, assistant governors, elect all of you, treasurers who are on tonight, these sessions are important for the future of our district and the future of our clubs. When you come to these sessions, I hope that you come prepared, having gone to the Learning Center, to understand the topic that you're coming to hear, so that your questions and your interactions with the district treasurer, Jalim, will be worthy, will be meaty. So I ask you, please come to these sessions prepared for the next set. Membership, get them prepared. Let them go to the Learning Center. That's how we're going to learn and how we're going to grow as a district. Okay? So without further ado, let me introduce my friend, and he was my immediate past district governor when I became district governor. and he is my friend. No one in this district needs to be introduced to PDG Lyle Chase, who also holds the mantle of being our district finance chair. PDG Lyle, welcome to the mic.
Thank you, my past boss, and recognize my next boss. Fellow Rotarians. All right, Sonia asked me, or PDG Sonia asked me, just to say a few words to help you get a real grip on the function of treasurer of your club. So presidents, listen carefully, because you're just on the line as much as the treasurer, right? So what I used to do as treasurer, I had a sheet of paper. It was pre-printed, right? So that sheet of paper would be at every meeting, and it would have a place where you can, hold on, I have to save my language, all right? I'm not French. I was a place where I had to, where you have to write down exactly what was received for the day. And on the other side, there was a place which said date of deposit. And then your deposits had to be tied up on that sheet of paper. Because trust me, you're going to take in money, you're going to make deposits, and you're going to find, oh God, they don't balance. How, you know, and you're going, so the other thing is, guys includes ladies, of course, you need to remember to do this thing quickly. When you get back to your office after the meeting, or if it's an online meeting, as soon as the meeting is over, write up your cash receipt summary. Put it into Excel if you're using Excel. Put it into QuickBooks. My preference, by the way, is to use QuickBooks, because people have a habit of screwing up Excel formulas, right? Excuse the French. My friends, excuse the French. Right? People do have a habit of messing up QuickBook, formulas.
Ask for a little help, but that's okay.
Am I hearing
Yeah, you've done great.
Sorry? Oh, I think somebody else was talking. But anyway, my thing to you is, look, be on time. Do your job diligently. Make sure when you receive cash on a daily meeting or on a club meeting, you have the president sign it, because that is your evidence of what was received. So nobody can tell you thief the people money, right? Once you've received the money at the meeting, make sure your president signs off on it, right? Before you go home. These are little things that perhaps we miss when we try and get the big picture together and say, Roy, we're the treasurer, we're keeping the accounts, right? But it's simple things. I remember hearing the president of the VHP Bilton talking when I was in Trinidad once. He said, do the small things right. So if you do the small things right, your job as treasurer and the president in terms of the finance of your club will be simple. And Sonia, I think I should stop, because you know I could go on all night about accounting and that sort of thing. But my buddy Jalim has plenty to say. So I'm going to stop here. And if at the end there are any questions, I'm here.
Thank you so much, PDG Lyle, and always good information. Being the treasurer does not have to be a daunting task. It really, what it means is that you are responsible, along with your president, for the money, for that really important function, which allows us to have access to grants, to make sure that we have audited financial statements, all of that. So listen to these guys who have that experience. Okay. I really would like to ask everyone to put their correct name, to put their correct name on the Zooms, so that we have a good record of who's here, so that we can really take attendance properly. So without further ado, it's for me to introduce the man of the moment, our district treasurer-elect, Jalim Ramnarain. Jalim has been a Rotarian for 17 years with the Rotary Club of Maraca St. Joseph in Trinidad. He's served as AG for the Central Cluster in Trinidad for 3 years, 2020. So that's in Lyle's time to Leslie's time, and as a past president for the Rotary Club in 2009, 2010. He's retired with 33 years experience in management and innovation technology, along with new business development for large organizations. He's worked with Massey Technologies Trinidad as the Group Finance Director for over 10 years. He's been involved in strategic initiatives, including business continuity plans, HSSE, corporate risk management, working capital management, and change management. Outside of all of that, Jalim is an avid golfer and a crazy granddad of a 2-year-old grandson, Zane. Without further ado, fellow Rotarians of District 7030, welcome District Treasurer-elect Jalim.
Thank you so much, PDG Sonia. Really appreciate the introduction. Let me also welcome all those who are on the call. We are 127 strong this evening, so I'm happy that we have so many people who are participating. Having said that, and having listened to PDG Lyle, I'm not quite sure there's much more we can add to this session this evening, but he has given you great advice, and I'll just probably add 1 or 2 things as we go along. So, treasurers, you are now the custodian and the guardian of your club's purse. You are effectively the Minister of Finance in your club. So congratulations, but let's make sure that we, in fact, follow some of the rules of Rotary that helps us to ensure that we do things that are transparent and that we are accountable for what happens from the finance perspective in your clubs. For our French Rotarians, I want to apologize for not having the French version of the RI manual. I understand that there wasn't one. And what we will do is to make sure, I just need to change something here that says go to English, but I'm not seeing English. Okay, so I'll just leave it as it is. I'll cancel. Yeah, we'll just have to try and ensure that we get one for French Rotarians to make sure that you also have a copy of that Rotary International Club Treasurer's Manual. So I'm going to switch to the PowerPoint now. Where can I share? Here we go. And there we go. Right. Okay. Here we are. Good. So let's get started. We just have 42 slides and we'll get through these very quickly, which will allow everyone to have an opportunity to ask all your wonderful questions. So the first thing we want to talk about this evening is some of the roles and responsibilities of the treasurer, this big job that you just have. And really they're very important. And therefore, I'll just go through them as best as and quickly as we can. One of the first things that you're required to do is obviously to develop an annual budget for board approval. And of course, this requires working with your all the chairpersons from the respective committees, working with your president and your secretary to put together your annual budget. You obviously have to manage your collections and your receivables, just as PDG Live had indicated. You're required to invoice your members. And you know when you have to do that, whether you're doing it on an annual basis or semi-annual basis, make sure you do your invoicing to your members. Make your bank deposits timely and intact. Very, very critical. Manage and track your club's operating income and expenses, because we want to ensure that during the year, not just at the end, but during the year, we know what our financial position and situation is. We want to manage and track fundraising income and expenses. So those things are critically important to ensure that we understand whether those activities, in fact, are making money or whether they're not, and what we need to do to manage those things. Manage and track your district designated grant income and project expenses, because at the end of the day, you are accountable back to the district to ensure that they know how you have spent the funds that they have granted to you. Manage funds collected for others, and we'll talk a little bit about those things as we go along in the presentation. For example, when you collect funds for the Rotary Foundation, that's not your money, that's money that has to be forwarded onward to the Rotary Foundation. District special projects, if you collect money for district special projects, COP or PEACE, those funds have to be forwarded to the respective committees. Provide financial reports to the board monthly. That's key. The board needs to fully understand where we are, how we are managing the club from a financial perspective. And of course, we need to know on a monthly basis how these things, how our finances are being managed. Present financial review to the club annually. Of course, normally this is done hopefully at your AGM, when you give a full account of the club's finances for the previous year. So critical things, but critical responsibilities that are required. And to do so, what we need to do is to make sure we establish and develop the policies and procedures that will help to guide the way we behave, the things we do, to help us, to allow us to be able to be fully accountable. So let's talk about some of the policies and procedures that we need to consider. Conduct a financial audit or an audit review if one hasn't been done recently. And we all know that that is a significant requirement of all our clubs. We need to make sure that someone who is independent looks at our accounts and make sure it has been reviewed, and give a statement that says that we're in good standing at the end of the day. Hopefully you have a CPA member who could do this for free. Some clubs you have CPA members, and other clubs who may be willing to review. You may have a friend who is a CPA or an accountant who can in fact assist with doing a review. You can also form a finance committee to help assist in conducting a review. What is critically important is that we must ensure that the review is independent. That is not somebody who has been involved in the day-to-day running of the finances in the club who is doing the review. That's kind of not so much independent. We need to make sure that this is somebody who is not been involved and who can give an objective view as to how your funds has been accounted for. And of course, implement internal financial controls and processes to protect against theft. That's critically important. Right. Implement a formalized process for budget requests. So someone needs to access something that has been budgeted in your year, and we want to make sure that when they've come to actually deliver on a particular project, do they have quotations from suppliers? Do we have an order? Do we have an invoice? Do we have a set of documents that helps us to ensure that we can access the budgets that have been approved? Determine who has check signing authority. That's critically important, and we'll talk a little more about that later on. How many people we need to have as signatories on our account, and who might those people be? And of course, develop a financial documentation retention policy. And that sounds a lot, but it really means put a system in place, guys, to ensure that all our checks are accounted for, all our invoices are done. We have deposit slips, we have bank statements, all those things, when we put them together at the end of the year, can be easily accessible for audit and for review by anyone who is, in fact, who needs to look at it. So that's a key thing. Let's make sure we can defend the numbers that we have in our financial statements. Right. Of course, and we know in today's day and age, we're accepting credit card payments, we are making credit card payments, we are doing bank transfers, we are going more online, and therefore, all the controls that you would have used previously for either writing a check or receiving money still apply. We must have authorizations for all those transactions before those things occur. And let's not just go and do bank transfers without the due authorization, and making sure that everybody who is in the know ought to know and has approved for these transactions, right? Policies and procedures, very critical. Let's talk a little bit about bookkeeping systems and Excel and a piece of paper with income and expenses on the side. And we have a piece of wire that we stick invoices in, and we hold on to those things. So bookkeeping systems are important. They're very important. And of course, a lot of clubs, many clubs that I know.
Excuse me, Jalin.
Yes, yes.
The interpreters, okay, the interpreter was saying that you were very low, so just making sure that she can hear you now. Okay, thanks. Sorry.
Am I okay? Am I okay?
Yeah, you're good now. Yeah, you're
Okay,
good now.
good. I apologize for that.
No problem.
Right. So bookkeeping systems, many clubs that I know of use Excel. And it depends on how much you want to use Excel for. Some clubs just simply do an income and expenditure account. Some clubs have no assets, they have no liabilities, and therefore they don't do a balance sheet. And they just do income and expenditure accounts as they go along. So Excel, everybody knows Excel, including PDG Lyle. So that makes it easier. Everybody else can understand it, especially if he can. So it's easily transferable in the future. We just email a file and off it goes to the new treasurer, and it's simple. It's hard to audit because this is missing so much information, because all you do is plug stuff in a cell and have a couple of formulas. And then what happens with those formulas, it's easy to make mistakes with those formulas, especially if they're not locked or people are not fully, aware of how to use Excel. You can easily, sort of get rid of a formula. So just be careful with those things. Most Excel in itself does not provide the facility to do invoicing. So then you have to do manual invoicing, but of course you can also do that. And it obviously, at the end of the day, does not provide a set of standardized financial reports that you and your club can use. But Excel is still there, guys. And for those of you who continue to use it, do so, but do so guardedly and very carefully. I have some suggestions. And top of the list there is, there's the good old QuickBooks. And of course, Sage, you can get a single user license for Peachtree, right? Easy stuff. And we know people who can help us do that. There's also FreshBooks, which is available, and there's Zoho Books, which is free online. So the good thing about using a system is that it helps you with those activities like invoicing and receivables, because sometimes you invoice your members, they don't pay, so it's got to end up in that, and the receivables help you to track. And then those things also, those software systems also help you with some prepackaged financial reports that will help you to manage your accounts. Good. So that's your bookkeeping systems. And we go after, I just thought I'd just give you guys a glimpse of, what you can possibly use as a chart of accounts. I'm sure you already use something, right? Existing currently in your clubs. So set up a chart of accounts in a way that helps you to easily track the different types of income and expenses that you encounter. Really, if you do it this way, sometimes you don't really need to jump to a set of financial reports to see what exists. You can look at items on your chart of accounts in your accounts and kind of figure out, how the finances are. Critically important, separate your charitable account, normally called the external account, from your operations or your club administration, your internal account. That's critical. That's something that we must do. And it's a requirement in Rotary, literally. Funds collected for others. And we talked a little bit about this earlier on. So you need to set up accounts that will help you to track funds collected from Rotary Foundation, for district projects. These should all set up as notes payable in your balance sheet. So if you collected money for the Rotary Foundation, you set that up as a liability, and of course you have your cash. And when you disperse the funds, you just settle your liability. Because if you do it that way, it's not really income for your club. It's really a pass through your club because someone has in fact given you money that you should forward to someone else. And here's a good example. You can set up your liabilities, funds collected for others. You have, the Rotary Foundation, we have Polio Plus, we have district projects. Simple stuff like this. For your club funds, you have your checking account operating. For your fundraiser, you can break that down into your different fundraising activities that you may have. And of course, you can do your grants based upon, simple things like that. So you can see, just looking at your accounts, get a good feel for what your financial status is. Your income, you can use club operating income, membership dues, guests, funds collected for barbecue, fundraising. These are just simple examples. I know most of our clubs already have set up, established charts of accounts. So just try to make sure that we do it in a structured way that will help you to help your board and your club to manage your funds a whole lot clearer. Okay, let's talk a little bit about budgets. So again, you need to set up your budget early in the year, right? So your board can approve, and when your district governor comes to visit your club, you need to, of course, share your budget with your district governor. So when creating the club budget, clearly club operating income, right, must cover your club operating expenses, or they should. And if they don't, we need to do two things, or a number of things. But the two that are suggested, one is, obviously, you need to do something with your dues. They probably needs to be adjusted, or find a way to have an internal fundraiser for your operating account. But of course, make sure that what you do is you manage your income and expenditure to the best of your club's ability. Where possible, you can use previous year's data as a guide for your next year's budget, of course. And in doing that, what you do is you impact on that all the activities that your club are proposing to do in your new year. The district finance committee can help guide you with respect to RI and district related expenses. That's easy stuff. You can call any one of us and we will certainly help you with assisting you to do that. Okay, here's a little bit of something that you need to know and probably take note of. So we have got dues, right? We've got to pay RI dues and we've got to pay district dues. So our RI dues are billed semi-annually. January 1st, July 1st, and January 1st, based on your per capita membership, right? So the RI dues for your year as treasurer for 24-25 is going to be $39.25 US, semi-annual. Remember that. So you're going to get a bill for that in July, and then you're going to get another one in January. And of course, the digital magazine cost is $9 US, right? Your district dues is a one-time charge because they want to make sure they get all their money up front from all our clubs and members. So our district finance chair would be happy. District dues are $25 annually, $2 for the disaster fund, and $1 for the Council of Legislation fees. So you need to just remember that. And of course, 25-26. In the new Rotary at 25-26, those Rotary fees go up to $41. Okay. Good. Some things that you need to consider for in your budget. Pre-pets, like what we're doing today. So that's a freebie. So everybody's smiling. We're all good. And of course, attendance is required. But certainly pets and the district conference, which takes place in April. Your president-elect, secretary-elect, and as many people as possible from your club, you need to budget for registration fee for these two people, lodging, airfare, and things like that. And those things we'll be aware of. The district will share that information with you with respect to the registration fees. Okay, budget guidelines. Remember, some clubs have a responsibility for sponsorship for RILA. Those amounts we have not yet, and dates have not yet been determined. But those things so you can use last year's estimate as a matter of fact. And of course, Interact sponsorships is something that you should also take into consideration to make sure we take care of the younger ones, because they are important to grow our Rotary membership. Financial controls, guys. This is a biggie. It's one that I think we should pay a lot of attention to. I just wanted to say one more thing under budgets. If you look at Appendix 2 in the Rotary International Treasurer's Manual, there are a number of forms listed there, and I encourage you to use them to the best of your ability. They're very useful and could help you in your budget preparation. So, financial controls. Here's one of the key things that we all learned in 101 accounting school. Trust is not a control. I'll say it one more time, guys. Trust is not a control. And therefore, we must implement systems and procedures so that we can manage and control our finances. Okay. Your Rotary Club needs internal financial controls, again, as we said, to protect against theft or errors, just like your business. So treat this like your business, or even better. Okay, so some suggested internal financial controls. At any time the club collects money, especially cash, have 2 people present who are counting it. That's just a simple principle. Make sure we're accountable. Have someone other than the treasurer count the weekly income, whether it's for guests who've paid for meals at the door, or fines, or raffle, and record these things on a form to accompany your deposit. PDG Lyle spoke about this at length earlier on. And of course, these things are really important. Implement a check requisition form for all expenditures, requiring 2 board members' signatures for approval. So we have a check requisition form. Somebody wants to, there's payment for something. It should have the name of the pay, the date, the check number, the purpose, the invoices attached, the approval process, to make sure that it has been approved by the board and we have the signing authority, approve the requisition. Those things are critically important. Require someone other than or in addition to the treasurer to sign checks. So we may have our president, we may have the treasurer, we may have the secretary, we may have a member of our finance committee, we may just have another board member. 2 signatories are critically important on all checks. So no one person can disperse funds at any point in time. Keep a copy of every check issued, including voided checks. And nowadays, what happens is banks are not sending return checks, but you can, in fact, download a copy of your check form through a PDF on your system. So I really encourage you to do that as a backup. Remember, we talk about keeping financial documentation to support our finances. That's one great way of doing it, right? Include a copy of our monthly bank statements with our financial reports that we submit to the board on a monthly basis. We need to make sure that third-party information, your bank statement is a critical third-party piece of financial information to support your internal finances. That's like your best third-party support that you would have. So make sure that when you get your bank statements, and of course, you can download your bank statements from the internet. So that's from your banking system. All those things are easy to come by. Include a report showing all deposits made the preceding months in your financial report when you present these to your board, and the same thing for your expenses. Those are critical things that you may need to do to ensure we have supporting documentation for our finances. Okay, let's talk a little bit about financial reports now. People like to see financial reports, and of course, it is there for a particular purpose to make sure that we know where we're going. Are we in the red? Are we in the black? If we are in the red, how we get to the black? Okay, at a minimum, at a minimum, you should provide the board with the following on a monthly basis. Your balance sheet or statement of financial position, if in fact you have one. As I said earlier, some clubs just do cash accounting and therefore may not have a balance sheet. Certainly an income statement is absolutely essential. Those two things in the main should be done. You should also be able to prepare your profit and loss actual versus your budget. Remember, you would have done a budget earlier on in the year to see how well you are matching your actual expenses and how well you're going against your budget. Are you overspending? How do we get back online if we are in fact overspending? Your accounts receivable summary. So this may be in a number of forms, because what may have happened is that you would have invoiced members for dues, but of course they would have not paid, and somebody needs to ensure that we follow up with our members to make sure that we collect those funds outstanding, because funds from those members need to be paid over to the district and over to RI. And we know if we're late with RI payments, there are severe penalties as time passes. Yes, so we need to make sure we follow up on collections. You need to get your check details, your deposit details, and your bank statement and a reconciliation. The bank reconciliation is one of your key controls in making sure your finances are in fact correct. Because in your bank reconciliation, there will be a number of unreconciled or reconciling items which exist in the bank statement that is not in your accounts, or that exists in your accounts and not in the bank statement. And you must ensure that your bank statement is reconciled with your club's finances. Key. Okay. One of the things I also wanted to mention on the financial reports that is not in the slide is I normally would like to encourage all our treasurers, when we present our finances to our boards, that in the board meeting, the minutes of the board meeting, we should record our cash balances, our financial balances on a monthly basis. That is another good exercise. It's really another good way of making sure that others know, right, that not only the financial reports in fact show the numbers, but in our minutes that we have recorded what our financial transactions are. Okay. Right. In addition to that, for some Rotary clubs, and I'm not sure if there are any in our district center that are required to file tax returns. I think those things are important to ensure that all our financial reports are done in such a way that allows us to be able to file tax returns, or there may be administrative filings that are required. So for example, in Trinidad, under our new NPO registration, the nonprofit organization registration, the club is required on an annual basis to file a return of the finances with the Registrar General. So clubs in Trinidad would be required to make sure that their financial reports, in fact, are in fact done and submitted to the Registrar General once you become registered as an NPO. Okay, we're getting close to the end, and I'll just go through some of the treasurer's calendar for you. So weekly, easy stuff. After every meeting, post dues payments received for members against the outstanding invoices. So I paid this week, so please take my name off your receivables list. I'm a good guy once more. Deposit dues that have been paid and do so intact, and make sure it's done within the next few days. Please don't accumulate it week after week and then do it by the end of the month when it's time for you to reconcile your accounts. You can't remember, and then you lost a piece of paper and it becomes a big humdrum. Please deposit your payment, your receipts timely. Of course, you're required to write checks which has been approved by the board and deposit funds that you would have received. Monthly, key again, reconcile your bank statement to your bookkeeping records. I can't say that enough. I really, really can't say that enough. That is a key control. Provide a monthly packet of the financial reports to your board. Regardless if there's a board meeting, you send it out to those board members. Let them know you're on top of your game and you're keeping close eyes on the finances of the club. Send it to them. Quarterly, invoice members for dues. If you do so quarterly or monthly, semi-annually or annually, do your invoicing. Semi-annually, pay Rotary International dues in July and January. Key. And of course, on an annual basis, your annual budgets, pay district dues in July and August, prepare financials and supporting documents for your audit and your audit review. That is a key control. One thing that I didn't put on the slide that I think is a critical activity of our treasurers is that of providing some risk management advice. And here's what I'm alluding to. So risk management really is involved in planning and organizing, and of course, advising to a large extent the activities to minimize loss in your club. And a number of things can in fact happen. Say, for example, clubs may have excess cash and we want to consider putting that in an investment product so you can earn some income. The question is, who is looking at the quality of that investment product? How has that been performing over the last couple of years? What is this likely to happen? And the treasurer may, and if you don't, I mean, there are people that you can ask, right? There's the district finance chair who is good at these things, you can just pop him an email and he will be able to help you with things like that. I think it's important that we evaluate some of these things before we go about just doing things willy-nilly. Review projects for financial viability and impact of loss. Those things are absolutely critical. We shouldn't just be saying, okay, we'll just go and do this project. It is critically important also that we do things like what if scenarios. We need to do some scenario plannings. What if this happened when we were doing this project? So treasurers, you're not just a record keeper, you're an advisor. You are a key component of your board and of your club. And I really want to advise you that you take this job extremely seriously. It is a critical role that you play. And of course, certainly, I wish you good luck, best wishes. We're all here to help you, and feel free to reach out to us. Thank you for attending. We will take your questions now, and I'll pass the session right back over to PDG Sonia. Thank you.
Wow, Jalim, awesome presentation. Hit every single point, very important for us. Thank you so much. We have some questions though, so you're not getting off, you're not done.
Oh, okay, but there's a whole team behind us. Should I stop sharing? Should I stop sharing now?
Yes, you can.
Okay,
yes,
great.
you can. Thanks. So David's iPad asks, that's why I really want everybody to put their right name on the screen, please, because David's iPad says, didn't RI stop producing club manuals and want everyone to use the Learning Center? What should my club use?
Of course, clearly, I'm not aware that they have stopped, but if they have stopped, the Learning Center is a great place to go to. Fantastic place. There's so much information that's available there. It's up to date, and I would strongly recommend that we go to the Learning Center. Easily accessible and available.
So the Learning Center is where RI is sending us now to learn all that we need to learn, so that no more are we having classes on pets. We're having learning sessions where you, as I mentioned earlier, should come to these sessions having looked at the presentations and gone through the courses in the Learning Center for the requisite course that you're about to attend. So really important to do that. And that helps you because the courses are all interactive as well. So easy for us to get through. So Greg Hazard, PDG Lyle, you had a comment? Go ahead. Sorry, wait, hold on.
It's muted.
Hold on. You're talking. Right, go on.
You have to unmute, Tom.
Better? All right. Yeah, sorry, just to let you know that the last manual of procedure was 2022, because that was the Council on Legislation. So it came out in 2022. There is a manual. You can find it on the Rotary International website, but it's dated 2022, and the next one will be next year, I believe.
Annually, yes. Thank you. Thanks, PDG. Oh, 2022, every 3 years, you're correct. Thanks, PDG Lyle, for that. So even there are manuals all around. They may not be sending them to the club presidents as they used to send in the past, but because they're putting the responsibility on us to actually go and do the work to become the officer that we need. That's why these sessions are important for you to attend, but also to do the Learning Center courses. And we're able to track you as you're doing these sessions. So it's really important that you do. Greg Hazard is asking, PP Jalim, are you suggesting that clubs should continue to use checks and not move to online transactions? That sounds like a really indignant question. Like he's looking at you with his side eye. With online transactions, would the same manual requisition process be recommended?
Absolutely, and the reason why I'm saying that is because you need, for your financial documentation retention, you would need to ensure that the authorizations are in fact done, although authorizations are in fact done online. But if an auditor had to look at what is the documentation that you would have retained for processing a transaction, they would obviously like to look at paper. Make sure we have something in place that allows us so that someone can review. Those
checks and balances so important because, as you mentioned
absolutely.
Earlier, Jalim, we don't remember what happens. So if we don't do that authorization, we don't write that down, we're not going to remember a year from now what happened. So absolutely. A month from now. So it's important that all those things are documented. And then he goes on further. For a club with substantial savings or funds to invest, what tips do you have? Should the club establish a formal investment policy? And what would be some of the important measures to be covered in such a policy?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I mean, there are a number of things, but maybe I should pass it to the district finance chair who may wish to comment in more detail.
PDG Lyle?
Oh, I didn't realize that Jalim had thrown me under the bus, but Jalim, you cut out there. So to be fair, cut out on my laptop. The answer is yes. You should have a formal policy so that a president doesn't go off doing stuff in his own way, and the treasurer being told to invest in 10-year government securities when perhaps you know that the only thing that gets haircuts in this region are government bonds. So you have to be extremely careful. So you have to balance risk against reward. You don't go for the highest interest, you go for the safest investment. And if the money comes from Rotary International, you must not put it onto any form of investment fund. Rotary International specifically will not allow that.
Thank you very much, PDG Lyle. So we move on, and Marmalene Manohar is asking, for Trinidad and Tobago clubs, as mentioned, isn't the submission of financials to companies' registry limited to those clubs above a certain size?
To the best of my knowledge, once you're registered with the Registrar General's office as an NPO, you're required to file a return. That's it. It's not a matter of size. So registration and although we have an extension on registration in Trinidad right now, I think it has gone to August, if I'm not mistaken. Once you've registered, there is a legal requirement that you must file a return with the Registrar General's office. It's not about size, it's about registration. It's whether you qualify as an NPO, and once you qualify, you're required to register, and once you register, you have to file.
Compliance.
Hmm?
Compliance, yes. Okay, so and I'm going to answer this question. When are clubs billed for district dues, and when is that payment due? As a past district governor, I'm going to say they are billed as early as possible in the new Rotary year, so July, August, and they are due upon receipt. Don't wait for the governor to visit. Don't give him a little envelope or her. Make sure that the dues are paid before they arrive at your club. Okay? It's really hard for a governor to go visit a club and be all upbeat and their dues are not paid, and it's not paid for many, many months after. So I'm gonna take that question for sure. Ryan Sudwa, I hope that's the right pronunciation. How long should paper-related documents be stored for?
So interesting question. I know from a tax perspective, the retention period is 6 years in Trinidad. But I would say what I would suggest that once you have completed your audit, I would say you should probably keep maybe 2 years, 3 years at max, because it's just paper. You have an audit with an audit opinion that says that you're fine, and therefore, you can destroy all the other stuff. I don't know if there's a Rotary international requirement that exists, but that's just my suggestion, quite frankly.
I think Rotary International would kind of mirror the laws of the country. So you're 6-7 years in Barbados, it's 7 years that you have to keep, you're required to keep these documents for. Okay, so A.G. Dion is asking, what are your views on clubs moving towards registration as non-profit companies and the requirements for publishing audited accounts?
Right. So, I mean, registering as an NPO is a great thing. It helps. Like everything else, once you register, you now have to be compliant. There's some administrative things that you have to do. If you register as an NPO, it allows you the opportunity to access funding from various places, because they see you as being a legitimate organization that they can, that they can fund projects with. So in Trinidad, in particular, it is law. So it's not optional in our case, but certainly in other jurisdictions, if it is not, I would suggest that you do in fact register, and you can register as an incorporated or an unincorporated organization. So you can choose their benefits from doing either. So I would recommend that you should.
Sonia, it's DG Debbie. Can I add something there?
Absolutely. No, boss. Of course. When she interjects, we just say, yes, ma'am.
Just to add to what Jalim has said, when you register as a non-profit company, one of the benefits is that members are protected from personal liability in relation to the dealings of the club. So that is a key factor. If you don't want to attract personal liability being a member of the club, it is always good for a club to consider registering as a non-profit company.
Excellent point.
It's also expensive to be publishing accounts in newspapers, etc. Very expensive. So
that's not a requirement though.
Right. Filing is just, we don't have to
have to publish.
Right.
Okay, moving right along. Jonah Ormond from Antigua says, excellent presentation, thank you. In relation to checks and balances for clubs which meet mostly online, what is your recommendation in relation to the recommendation for a third person when collecting cash from members? Would a sign-in sheet suffice? And also, to what extent can Club Runner assist clubs with budgeting and financial matters?
Okay, that sounds like a lot. I'm not, so let me take the first part. Being an online club is what they said.
Basically, what it's saying is for a club that generally meets online,
Right.
what is your recommendation for a third person when collecting money from members? Should they have a sign-in? And that's similar checks and balance that you talked about, that you're taking money from such a person, somebody else countersigns.
Right. So simple. I mean, if you're taking funds and you're alone, I think what would be critical that you do is you just simply give the person a receipt. So that person obviously has a document that says that they have paid, and they can validate their payment. And of course, all the receipts are to be accounted for in the same way you account for everything else within your, receipts have to have sequence controls, and therefore you account for all your receipts given a particular time and make sure those receipts tie back to the deposits that you have made. So a receipting system is what I would recommend if you're a single person collecting funds from another member. And I'm assuming that's what he meant.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Liz Cox is asking, can we really invest funds? And so I'm gonna let you answer that, and I'm gonna because I think that's a double-edged sword right there.
Right. So I'm gonna shoot that question over to my good friend.
Lyle.
Of course.
I think you answered that question already, Lyle, but I'm gonna ask you just to reinforce.
Absolutely.
Liz is asking if we can really invest funds.
Yes.
You can do some prudent investing, because it is almost a crime to allow funds to sit down on an account and earn nothing, because it is losing value. But your club needs a formal policy to say we accept the risk, because any investment is a risk.
Absolutely.
So they have to.
You also said that you cannot invest RI grant money, and that's really the important thing. But many clubs
intends you to use it quickly anyway,
yeah.
Right? And in fact, most Rotary clubs use all the funds they have quickly, but some build up sizable balances. And it is those sizable balances that you really want to be, if you're raising money from the public, you really want to be spending it for what you said you were spending it. But there are times that you have it and you need to wisely manage it.
Absolutely. Luana Faulkner. Hi, Luana. Good to hear from you. Should clubs have procurement guidelines that enhances the club's transparency and accountability? Maybe a simple 3 quotation process and guidelines to avoid conflicts of interest when project purchases are required to be made.
Without a doubt, that's almost like a given.
That's prudent financial management.
Absolutely.
Jonah again is asking, is a separate account required for grant funds, or could that be managed through the club project account?
Right. So grant funds have to be managed separately. So those funds coming in and of course how those funds are disbursed. I'm assuming he means a bank account.
Yes.
Yes. So
separate bank account.
Right. That would be great. if that
Best
if that can be easily achieved. Not easily achieved in Trinidad. If you want to open a bank account, your great grandmother has to sign documents to ensure that you get a bank account. But certainly, if that is easily achievable, it is highly recommended to keep grant funds separate from your club operating accounts.
But definitely the prudent accountability of the funds, that it's used specifically, you can manage it through your regular current account.
Correct.
But you got to keep those I's dotted and those T's crossed. Okay, and finally, Marique Van Asten from RC Portsmouth says, we scan every financial related paper and store it online. In a hurricane-prone country, we don't want to take chances. So that's the backup, that's that check and balance.
Great recommendation.
Yes, absolutely. So that's the last of the questions, Jalim and
Sonia.
PDG. Yes.
Me again. I think we missed a part of A.G. Jonah's question. He did ask, to what extent can club runners assist clubs with budgeting and financial matters?
Oh,
And yes, I know that, well, Jalim, you can answer.
No, Debs, please continue. Of course.
I know in the past that I know that clubs use it for doing their invoicing, and that it has some useful features in terms of helping you to automatically generate and keep track.
Great, thank you for bringing us back to that question. So that's it, guys. A great evening spent, lots of information, lots of really good information, great questions that came out of this session. I encourage everybody, presidents and treasurers on this call, please go to the Learning Center and get familiar. Our treasurer does not just land in the treasurer's lap. It's a responsibility of the board members to be aware. The treasurer is the controller, but the president, the secretary, the directors, the chairman, they are all people who are going to be using the money and calling on the purse. So everyone needs to be aware. It's at this time that I say thank you very much to, and I'm sorry I did not shout out the governor's string that was on earlier, but many, many past district governors and future governors are on. And so that just shows the commitment that our governors have in these programs that District 7030 runs. Thank you very much, District Treasurer-elect Jalim, for what has been an amazing evening. And I thank you for your time, for your presentation. PDG Lyle, thank you as well for being there and being that rock and that anchor for us, and those words of wisdom. DGE, Debbie, thank you for welcoming us and for interjecting where you were needed this evening. Everyone, thanks so much, and do have a great evening. We're back here again on Saturday morning for membership. This is treasurers, presidents, secretaries, AGs, and chairman of the membership committees within the clubs. Please join us then, and we'll see you. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.